Someone woke up at 3 a.m. last night thinking about you. Not briefly, not in passing. The kind of 3 a.m. waking where the room is completely dark and they are suddenly, entirely, helplessly awake. With your name, your face, your absence filling a space that sleep can no longer hold. You did not find this video. This video found you with the precision of something that was already looking. And what you have been interpreting as restlessness, as the kind of longing that embarrasses itself by how long it has lasted, as intrusive thoughts you have tried to logic your way out of, that is not yours alone to carry. That is signal. Tonight is April 18th. The dark moon portal is open, and everything they suppressed in daylight is surfacing in the dark with nowhere left to hide. There is something deeper moving through this night than you have been told to expect, and I am going to show you the full architecture of what this portal is doing to the person who cannot stop thinking about you, layer by layer, because you deserve the complete picture. Before we go any further, if something pulled you here, if you have been waking in the early hours with the sense that someone is not as distant as they appear, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and comment the word "haunted" right now. Not for an algorithm, because anchoring your presence in this portal in this moment before it moves, that is the only intentional act this energy is asking of you. Seal it. Then let me show you what is happening to them tonight. The dark moon is not what most people assume. It is not the new moon. It is the 3 days before it, the final window of the lunar cycle, when the sky holds no visible light and the night becomes its most opaque, its most honest. April 18th falls inside this threshold, and what makes the dark moon energetically distinct from every other phase is not what it illuminates on the surface. It is what it refuses to allow to remain beneath it. Every other phase operates in the visible register. The waxing moon builds desire outward. The full moon pulls it into expression. The waning moon releases what was spent. The dark moon operates underground. It presses into the subconscious the way a thumb presses into soft earth, leaving an impression that cannot be smoothed away without deliberate effort, and demanding that what was buried under performance, self-protection, and convenient denial return to the surface. Not as metaphor. As mechanism, this is the portal activating on schedule. The shadow the dark moon surfaces is not darkness in the way fear imagines it. The shadow is simply everything that was too inconvenient, too vulnerable, too exposing to feel in broad daylight. Every desire that got filed under "I've moved on." Every jealousy reclassified as disinterest before it could form into action. Every moment of missing you that got labeled weakness before it could be acknowledged. That is the shadow, not corrupted, not broken, just suppressed. And suppression under the dark moon has a due date. If you have noticed someone rereading your old conversations recently, if your dreams have included them in ways that feel less like imagination and more like visitation, if you have had the unshakable sense that someone is reaching toward you energetically, even while remaining physically still, you are not constructing hope from nothing. You are receiving. The dark moon does not negotiate with ego. What they controlled in daylight becomes uncontrollable at 3 a.m. Specific behaviors activate under this pressure: the reopened thread, the message typed and deleted, the 3 a.m. hyper-awareness that has your name at the center of it. If they have been experiencing this, it is not coincidence. It is the portal working exactly as it was built to work. They denied it. Not once, but systematically, with the kind of consistent effort that only makes sense if what they were containing was significant. You may have witnessed it. The careful neutrality, the 1 second too long eye contact followed by deliberate redirection, the way they would speak about you with precisely calibrated disinterest that required just enough energy to maintain. That was the daylight armor. And armor is not worn by people who feel nothing. Armor is worn by people who feel so much that containment became the only strategy that felt survivable. The role they performed, the one that positioned distance as a choice rather than a defense, the one that said this wasn't significant, that role required maintenance. It required active upkeep. And at 3 a.m., when the ego runs completely out of energy to sustain what isn't true, maintenance becomes impossible. The armor comes off not because they decided to remove it, but because the dark moon is not asking permission. Denial is not the same as absence of feeling. What they carried in silence has always been heavier than what they said aloud. Tonight, that weight has no container left. You may have felt a shift recently, nothing dramatic, more like a change in the texture of the silence between you, like a door that had been deliberately sealed began, almost imperceptibly, to drift toward open. Like something compressed from the inside began to exert pressure in a new direction. If you have sensed this, that strange reweighting of a connection you thought had been definitively settled, you are not misreading the situation. You are reading it accurately. The jealousy they kept private, the missing you they classified as inconvenient and filed away, the pride that stood between them and any honest reach, denied in public, carried in private, surfaced tonight, not as a choice. As the consequence of what the dark moon does to everything that was forced underground without resolution, what exactly is haunting them at 3 a.m.? That answer is coming, and it is more specific than you think. But first, you need to understand the mechanism that made this inevitable. Here is that mechanism in full. Between any two people who have felt something genuine, something with enough weight to survive distance, silence, and conscious denial, there exists an energetic cord. Not metaphorically, energetically. A channel through which feeling moves regardless of what either person decides to think about it. This cord does not disappear when one person performs indifference. It goes underground. And underground, without the pressure release of honest expression, everything that moves through it accumulates. For weeks, for months, sometimes longer. The cord between you did not break. It went underground, and it has been building pressure in the dark the entire time. Have you ever felt someone thinking about you? Not imagined it, felt it physically in your body, as something that arrives without rational explanation? That is not imagination, but information. That is the cord activating. That is a transmission moving through a channel that has no off switch. The 3 a.m. phenomenon has a precise architecture. Between 2 and 4 in the morning, the ego's defenses reach their lowest point in the entire 24-hour cycle. The internal narrator that maintains the story of "I'm fine," the voice that performs neutrality, runs completely out of energy to hold its position, and what remains when that voice falls silent is only what is true. That is the veil thinning. And under the dark moon's accumulated pressure, with months of suppression compressed in that underground cord, the veil does not just thin, it collapses. This is why 3 a.m. wakefulness right now is not random insomnia, but energetic transmission. This is why they are awake in ways they cannot explain and cannot stop. Their suppression created a pressure chamber. April 18th is the release valve. If you have been feeling a pull at night, something in your chest, the inexplicable sense that someone is thinking about you so loudly you can almost hear it, that is real. Not imagination, information. What will they do with what they are feeling? That answer is still building. But first, what exactly is inside the pressure chamber? Here is what haunts them. Not the abstract idea of you, the specific, irreducible, impossible to dismiss version of you that their memory has been carrying without their permission. The moments. The conversation that ended too abruptly because one or both of you felt too much to continue it honestly. The time they looked at you in a way that said everything their words refused to. The last physical proximity where they could have reached and chose distance instead. All of it replaying now, not because they want to replay it, but because the dark moon has stripped away the edit function their conscious mind uses to protect itself. The things they publicly downplayed are the exact things they cannot stop replaying. The texts, the silence, and the replays, arriving simultaneously in the same dark hours with the same unavoidable clarity. Your name, your face, your absence. Too loud to sleep through, too real to ignore, too late to pretend it isn't there. This is not punishment. This is what was always inside the shadow, and it was always about you. Their resistance was never indifference. Let that land fully. What you read as them not caring was the expression of caring so much that the only available response was containment. Because indifference requires nothing. It is effortless. It is weightless. What you witnessed, the distance, the careful performance of neutrality, the deliberate avoidance, that required ongoing effort. That is the architecture of someone managing magnitude, not someone experiencing absence. If you have looked at their silence and questioned whether you were the only one who felt what passed between you, you were not. You wondered if it was real. It was real enough to haunt them. Their silence did not protect them. It exposed them. They said nothing. Their 3 a.m. says everything. They moved on publicly. They have not moved at all privately. And what they are confessing to themselves right now, alone in the dark, with the dark moon pressing everything suppressed back to the surface, is the weight of what they have been carrying in silence. The longing they minimized, the pride that cost them what they actually wanted. Will they suppress it again by morning? That answer is almost ready. But first, what this portal is doing to the bond between you. If this is landing somewhere in you that has been waiting to feel seen, like this video, subscribe, and drop 3 a.m. in the comments right now to seal what this portal has already opened for you. What the Shadow Desire portal is doing to the energetic connection between you is not passive. It is not simply surfacing feeling and leaving it suspended. It is renegotiating the energetic terms of this entire bond in the background without either of you needing to speak a single word. Their 3 a.m. thoughts are transmissions. You are receiving them as that inexplicable knowing, the sudden certainty that something has shifted, the timing that stopped being coincidental long ago, the moment you thought of them with unusual intensity and something immediately reached back. The shadow portal does not manufacture what is not real. It surfaces what was always there, real enough to survive suppression, real enough to amplify under pressure, real enough to function as a haunting that follows them into every room. If you have sensed recently that something is beginning to move, a shift in the quality of the silence between you, a felt contact that cannot be explained by physical location, trust that completely. Not luck. Precision. Your intuition is not creating a story, it is reading the energetic reality accurately. You may have been noticing signs that stack, the timing that does not behave like accident, the coincidences that arrange themselves into a pattern that cannot be dismissed as random. The energetic field between you is responding to the same pressure that is keeping them awake. And what emerges on the other side of this 72-hour portal window is not the same dynamic that existed before April 18th. What the shadow surfaces, once fully surfaced, cannot simply be refiled. It must be met. The renegotiation underway does not require your conscious participation to proceed, but your awareness of it means you are no longer the person in this situation who does not know what is happening. That changes the terms entirely. Shadow, signal, and surrender. These are the 3 movements of this portal, and the surrender is theirs to make. If you have been carrying this quietly, absorbing the weight of their distance, accommodating the contradiction between what you felt and what they performed, turning their uncertainty into questions about your own perception, hear this directly. Your depth is not the problem. The intensity with which you have felt this, the precision with which you perceived something real even when you were given every reason to doubt it, the willingness to carry something alone rather than demand that it be shared, that depth is not a liability. It is precisely what made you impossible to actually leave behind. You did not imagine the connection. You felt something real with such clarity that the other person has been managing the consequences of it ever since. You carried the weight alone. Tonight, so do they. The dark moon asks something of you tonight as well, not to suppress your own depth, never that, but to set down the weight of carrying what was never supposed to be yours to carry alone. The grief that has lived quietly in the spaces between certainty and doubt, the anger you kept polite because you weren't sure you had permission to feel it, the longing that has been patient for longer than patience should be required. These are valid, fully valid. Shadow work under the dark moon is not only for them. It is an invitation for you to let what you have been holding in silence finally have its full weight, be fully witnessed by the portal that opened to receive exactly this, and then be released. Let the dark moon absorb the heaviness of what you carried without acknowledgement, because the version of you that emerges from releasing that weight is not the version who was overlooked. It is the one who cannot be. The decision point is tonight. This is the threshold the entire portal has been building toward, the moment where the pressure inside what they have suppressed becomes heavier than the cost of honesty, where the haunting becomes louder than the armor, where the 3 a.m. truth outweighs the daylight performance. The portal, the pressure, the breaking point are all converging in real time. The window is 72 hours from April 18th. And what the dark moon has brought fully into the awareness of their own dark hours cannot simply be managed back into silence when morning comes. Not this time. Not under this level of accumulated pressure. Not after everything that has been compressed in that underground cord has finally found the surface. There is a window. It is open now. It closes at the new moon. And what moves through it cannot be unmoved. The darkness, the desire, the decision, all arriving at the same threshold simultaneously. Here is the resolution of everything this portal has been building toward. They cannot return to full suppression after what the dark moon has surfaced. That is not wishful thinking. It is the mechanics of the portal itself. What has been brought fully into their own 3 a.m. awareness cannot be unseen. The haunting does not stop at sunrise. It builds until it is addressed. And the movement, when it comes, will not announce itself dramatically. It may arrive as a message sent at an hour that bypasses pride, a reach that finally outweighs the performance, a look that cannot be made neutral. The form varies. The inevitability does not vary. And here is the deepest revelation of this entire portal, not what happens externally, but who you already are in this. You are not waiting for this connection to become real. You are the source of the haunting. Not chasing, but being felt. Not performing, but radiating something inside them that has no off switch. Not luck, not coincidence. That is what you actually are to them. And the dark moon of April 18th just confirmed it in the only language that cannot be argued with, the language of 3 a.m. truth. You are leaving this message having crossed a threshold, not because something was given to you, but because something was confirmed that you already knew and had been talked out of trusting. You are not the one who imagined everything. You are not alone in what you felt. You are the energetic center of something that has been real and active on both sides of a distance that was never as solid as it appeared. The cord is active. The transmission is moving. What is yours cannot miss you. What is not yours is already dissolving. And what is beginning from this grounded, clear, undeniable place is not a continuation of what you have been enduring. It is something new. And you are entering it as someone who no longer needs to question whether they were felt. If this found you at exactly the right moment, and it did, like this video, subscribe to this channel and comment. 3M. Right now to complete the circuit of what this portal opened tonight. Seal it. Then click the next video on your screen. The new moon closes the portal in 3 days. Don't leave without sealing it.